Hi, and welcome to Blooms by MED. Join me today as we look around the property on this cold winter day. I'm actually doing a voiceover because it's so windy and chilly out there. We're located in Eastern Ontario, Canada, Zone 5B, and I always take notes in winter to determine where I'm lacking winter interest. Those are two words you're going to hear me say often during this video. Although our property has great bones, being surrounded by mature trees, it could use some improvements at eye level for winter interest. I'm going to try and capture our property as best I can. We recently got over 50 centimeters of snow, and I haven't dug out my snowshoes from storage yet. First, we'll have a look at the long driveway. It's lined with beautiful maple trees that look so lush in summer and spectacular in the fall. However, the hill that's flanking the driveway is the first thing you see when you're driving up to the house, and it definitely lacks visual interest. It's heavily shaded in the summer, and did I mention we live on a sand pit? And that means that I have to find shade loving plants that also enjoy dry conditions. This hill is a long-term project that we would like to tackle, one for aesthetic reasons, two to control the weeds, and three to help with erosion. I've divided and added some hostas so far, but I would love your suggestions for tried and true dry shade loving plants. Feel free to leave those in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate it. Here's a picture of that hill in the summer, and you'll notice the weeds growing in, and it really does not have any visual impact. Here's my inspiration, pictures I took from the botanical gardens at the Agricultural Museum here in Ottawa. Isn't that spectacular? So lush and full of texture and greens. It's beautiful. Something that I would love to add onto that hill as well is a stone staircase pathway leading up to like a little secret room up in the woodland area. I think a staircase would add such great visual impact to that hill. Okay, as I pan towards the house, I definitely need to up my winter interest game here. The challenge is the restrictions of planting material due to the location of our septic tank and weeping tile bed. The gardens look lush and full in the summer, but I will be adding some more elements for winter, such as ornamental grasses. I also added about a half a dozen of limelight hydrangeas in the gardens in front of the house, and I can't wait to see them in their full glory. They will add so much winter interest, especially if you leave the blooms on in their dried state on the bushes throughout the winter time. If you enjoy these types of videos, please consider subscribing and clicking on the thumbs up. It definitely encourages me to make more of this type of content. So what we'd like to tackle in the courtyard garden is adding some shutters to that window, maybe a nice flower box, and I'd love to add possibly a climbing hydrangea. This area faces north, and I think it would be the perfect location for that climbing vine. The garden is just about a year old now, so it's still quite immature. Things are going to grow into their full potential, but I could be adding a few things to add more winter interest. As we head on to the back of the property, you'll notice that our lot is very irregular, which adds to its charm. There's hardly any flat surfaces here, just a few. We're blessed with so many trees that definitely add winter interest. However, many we will be removing due to disease this spring, especially a lot of the jack pines. Okay, you're going to notice here a structure made out of plywood. This is our neighbor's shed, and it serves their purpose, but it's aesthetically not pleasing to us. So we want to hide that view, and if you notice, there's little white pegs in the snow coming out of the soil there, and that's where the future greenhouse is going to go. The back wall of the greenhouse is going to be full, no glass, so that will create some privacy. And the greenhouse will be surrounded by beautiful gardens, so it'll be visually pleasing when we're sitting at the fire pit zone, you'll have a beautiful view of the greenhouse and the gardens. But before we build that greenhouse, we have to eliminate some of those jack pines. And by eliminating some of the trees, it'll create more sunlight and I'll be able to grow more cut flowers. You'll notice on the left of that greenhouse location, the property kind of slopes up, and at the top of that hill, it's full sun all summer. And I would love to grow some fruit bushes like raspberries and blackberries and have maybe a couple of fruit trees. I think that would be a great addition to our property. As we pan to the left, up the hill behind the fire pit area is a path to our woodland trail, which you've seen on numerous occasions on my Instagram account. And there's also access to the pasture where the cut flower patch will be. And I'll give you a full tour in the near future. The fire pit area was designed in the summer of 2020. A berm was created behind the fire pit area, and I planted many shrubs and plants that will eventually provide winter interest, such as red twig dogwood, hydrangeas, ornamental grasses, and burning bush shrubs. The red chairs really make a nice impact in the wintertime. My husband also wants to build a cabin up in the woods for guests and maybe eventually an Airbnb, but those are not immediate plans. They're on the dream board. The barn shed was delivered in painted red, and red adds such a punch of color in winter. This summer, we would love to add some landscaping in front and around the shed, and I know I definitely want to add a blue spruce of sorts and some climbing vines. And we can't forget about lighting. We're going to be adding some lighting for nighttime visual impact. A soft glow in the evening is always very welcome, especially when you're sitting by the fire. So never forget the lighting features in a garden. At the back of the house, we have a covered porch that is surrounded by a stone wall. Last summer, I planted half a dozen of limelight hydrangeas, and hopefully in a couple of years, those are gonna be adding some winter interest as well. Here's a few little clip bits of that garden in the stone wall and those beautiful hydrangeas. We also have a shade garden under those big pine trees. There's about 4 or 5 pine trees that we're going to keep. And under those pine trees, I have a nice collection of hostas. And eventually, we would love to add a water feature here, like a pond with some trickling water. And this will attract more birds and some of the wildlife. And dare I say it, snakes. Snakes are good in a garden. I don't like them, but they're great to have in the garden because they take care of the mice population, which is a bonus in my book. Here's a look of what the shade garden looks like. I believe this is in the spring. And in that far corner is where I had my cut flower patch last year, and I'm still going to continue to grow beautiful blooms in that space. I hope you enjoyed this short property tour. And if you do enjoy and you want to stick around with us for our future garden plans, make sure you click on the notification bell and YouTube will advise you when I upload a new video. Again, thanks for watching and I welcome all of your suggestions and ideas in the comments below. Take care.